everybody. When you're coming in, turn your cameras on so we can see your beautiful faces. Jason's going to have a good class for us today. He wants to be able to see and engage with everybody while he's training and teaching. So if you turn your cameras on, we would appreciate it.
All righty. So yeah, cameras on is definitely a must unless you're driving or in the shower.
In the shower.
Yeah, don't want to see that. This class is going to be really interactive. So the more you guys put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. If you're looking just to sit back and relax and take some notes, you might get a couple of nuggets, but if you engage, you're going to get a ton out of this, because I'm actually going to walk through with you how I qualify my clients to get them ready and set up for the second part, which is coming next week. So does this sound good to everyone?
Sounds
All
good.
right. All right, so I'm going to share my screen again, and hopefully this works.
Yeah. So Jason, before we kick off, most people on here probably know who you are because you've been with us and done some past trainings. But why don't you just give a 30-second overview about yourself for the people that are on that maybe haven't seen you before, and then let's jump right into the training.
Absolutely.
And if everybody will mute themselves.
Let's see. Oh,
That
now I
would be
can see everyone.
fantastic.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Now I can see everyone. All right. So, first of all, I started in real estate just over 10 years ago now. Before that, I was an engineer for 18 years. Started off my engineering career at Bell Labs, where I worked full-time, got my master's part-time from Columbia. And Bell Labs is also where I got most of my 35 patents. Fast forward, I've been with EXP for just around 5 years at this point. I have been a EXP University instructor for the last 3.5 years, a success coach starting last year, and also a licensed realtor here in lovely Boulder, Colorado. So for those of you who know someone moving to the Boulder area, because it seems like someone always does, be happy to get your referrals. All right. So that is my background. The first thing I want to do is get your energy up. So if you could all just stand up and bear with me for a second. All right, I'm seeing motion. This is cool. Yes. All right, stand with your feet shoulder width apart. Put your fists over your head. Close your eyes and tighten every muscle so it feels like you can fly. Smell the scent of the clean air. Hear the wind rushing by. Feel the ruffle on your clothes. Now, slowly, slowly relax your muscles. Take a deep breath in, slowly open your eyes, bring your arms down to shoulder height. Keep your arms straight out at your sides. Put your thumbs up, like this. And pick a point about 20 degrees above your eyes. What I want you to do is every time you breathe in, slowly soften your peripheral vision so you can see further and further out. Every time you breathe out, you'll be able to see closer and closer to your thumbs. Take a deep breath in and let your peripheral vision broaden. Give a quick wiggle to your thumbs. Do you see them? Now, with every breath, I want you to focus back a bit at a time. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. We'll do one more. Deep breath in and a deep breath out. Okay, lower your arms, take a seat, and you'll see why we did that in a second, besides getting your blood flowing. Now, what I want you to do is imagine that you've already taken this class. You've taken this training. Your conversion ratios have already significantly improved. How has your business gotten better? How has your life improved because of this? So now that you're here, you're going to see what that part was in a second too. So one thing I want you all to realize is everything I'm teaching you today that I'm going to give you is a learned skill. I didn't have this when I was born. I didn't have this when I started in real estate. And if I could learn it, you guys can learn it too and implement it. So for those of you thinking I have a gift or a talent, I just want you to know this doesn't come naturally to me. As I said, I learned this, which means you can too if you want. The reason why I say that, the very first client I had, it took me 9 months to get them under contract. I showed them 127 homes. The entire inventory where they were looking had turned over, not once, but twice. So they knew the market as well as I did at this point. Now, they did end up buying a $1.65 million home, so that's a really nice, big, fat $40,000 GCI. Yet when you did the math, I would have made more money working at McDonald's. I made less than minimum wage, or about $5 an hour. Now, my last deal that I'm currently working on, I'll probably work with that client for about 25 hours, which means I'll have made $650 an hour. So the question is, unmute your mic because I want to hear this. Which one do you want? Do you want that first deal or that last deal?
Number 2.
Yeah.
Last deal.
Last deal, of course.
Cool. All right. So that is exactly what I wanted to hear. And I'm going to show you exactly the tools I used to get the client to that point. I mean, they were looking all over the entire state. I was going to have them referred out to 5 different buyer's agents across the state. I went, before we do this, let's narrow down. And you'll see exactly what that looks like. So the net takeaway from that first sale, I knew something had to change, and fast, because while it was a great commission, it didn't pay 9 months of bills. And let me tell you, it was painful. The client didn't respect me. They didn't think I knew what I was doing, which honestly was true. And let me tell you, it was not enough money to pay 9 months worth of bills. So that client who fought me every step of the way, I thank them. They're still on my phone because if they ever call, I never wanted to pick it up. Seriously. So the whole point here is you need to build the skills so you don't do a repeat of my first client, but you can do what I'm doing with my current clients. Does that sound cool to everyone? Yes? All right. All right. I am going to wake you guys up here, so bear with me. You're here, so I know you want the secret sauce to make this happen, right? Yes? All right.
Yes.
Cool. All right. So some of you have taken the training that I did last month, and there were 4 basic things in there. It was setting expectations and qualifying are 2 of them. Now we're going to go through the qualifying piece here. Next week is setting expectations. Some of what you're going to see is step 3, which is how you say something is as important as what you say. This is specifically neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. I'm in the middle of taking a class. It's my 3rd time taking this class. That's how important this stuff is. Now, why is NLP important? Well, if you text someone, the words that you're using, that's only 7% of the communication. 7%. So your scripts, while important, is only a tiny fraction of helping these people make decisions. 55% of the decision process is face-to-face, is seeing someone. What's their reaction? What are they doing? Are they really over dramatized, but you get the idea. So you can understand where someone is with nonverbal communication. That's why most instructors will tell you, go face-to-face if you can, or do a Zoom. It's the next best thing. Phone calls, That's a little bit better. Tonality, pace, how someone says something or emphasizes something, that's about 35%. So super important stuff. And the last part, that's mindset. And we could definitely have another class if you guys want a mindset. There's a ton of people out there that have mindset books. So we can definitely get into what some of that looks like too. So those are the 4 key things. All right, you're done. You can go now. No, seriously. For those of you who had taken my last class, my numbers have changed a little bit now. I am now up to 36 of my last 38 buyer sides I've taken out once before an accepted offer. And I might be jumping the gun because we're still negotiating, but I'm fairly confident that we are going to get under contract by the end of today. So a while ago, I got cocky, I short-circuited my usual process, ended up taking the client out 3 times before making an offer, which, as far as fails go, not a bad fail. 2 of those were back to the same house. Now, what didn't I do that I should have done? Well, in the LPMAMA, which you're going to see in a second, I skipped over some important questions while I was qualifying. I mean, let me paint the picture. I met this kid going out to a range. New to me here in Boulder, didn't know where they were. It's like, okay, this is kind of fun. So here was this 25-year-old kid who called me and go, I want to buy a home. He's a trust funder. He's buying his first home. What I forgot to ask was my typical luxury question or first-time buyer question. He's both. That question is, who else on your team is going to be helping you with your purchase? Basically, what you're trying to find out is, who are you going to go to for additional information? In this case, it was his mom who was living in California. So I didn't know this until after we'd gone out twice. And all of a sudden, he's like, hey, my mom's coming in next week. I want to go back to that first house again. And, let's go look at a couple others so she can see what the market's like. I'm like, okay. I think I showed him a total of 5 homes. He ended up buying that first house. So the whole point, make sure you know who's involved in the decision-making process. And there's a ton that you can do with luxury. There's a book by Laurie more, Rich Buyer, Rich Seller. You can buy it online on Amazon. She can go through so much better in that book than I can in an hour. And if you're interested in luxury or interested in how to speak the language of luxury, definitely get the book. I get nothing out of it. She used to run the Institute for Luxury Home Marketing. She has since retired. So I hope she's having a great time. She is an amazing person with amazing insights. All right. So for those of you who have taken my class before, you may recognize this slide. And this is sort of an interactive thing here. What I want to see in the chat box, or just click the raise hand button on your control panel, is how many of you actually role play right now, this week, or you could raise your physical hand. Anyone? No one role plays? Oh, wow. Okay. How many of you actually use scripts? Anyone? Okay, I'm starting to see a few hands come up and down. That's good. For those of you that have used scripts, have you ever internalized the script to a point where it's automatic? If someone says something, you go right into that script. I mean, it's internalized, it's part of you. All right, couple of people. Now, when I first started to role play, I didn't like it. It was uncomfortable. I was bad at it. It was awkward. Let's face it, role playing is awkward. Then it isn't as it got internalized. I mean, this is so important. The whole point of role play is to practice what you're going to say to some of those standard objections that buyers have because they've gone to buyer objection school before they say it to you. I mean, would you rather practice and get a do-over or just wing it and lose the client? I mean, I don't know about where you sell real estate, but the average price of an average home here in Boulder is 1.38 million right now, if you can find a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Now, last week, our average median list price was 2.35 million because we have no inventory, and this is being driven by the luxury market. Now, if you practice on a client, that's a very, very expensive commission check you're practicing with. That's a lot more than going to a 4-year university school. You know, the best athletes, the superstars, there's a reason why they say they practice harder than when they're actually playing a game. And by the way, I'm not telling you those Boulder numbers to make you jealous or feel inferior. I'm telling you those numbers because these are the numbers I personally need to know so I can tell them to my client. I mean, I have an investor client from California who doesn't know the market. He goes, oh, our market dropped 20%. I go, ours has gone up 3. Here's our numbers. You know, by the way, we typically have 600 single family homes for sale at this time of year. We've been hovering around 100 for the last 6 weeks. Last week, we were at 122. This week, we're up to 143. COVID lows were 52. So what do you think this tells the client? I'm not telling them we have no inventory. The data's telling them we have no inventory. Does that make sense? Nod some heads if it makes sense. Okay. So recently, I was taking some additional coaching training. We were told in our class to get into role-playing groups and do some homework. Most coaches take a wild guess how many classes they got into. Come on, hold up your hands. How many role-playing groups? 0, 1, 2? How many groups do you think, everyone? Okay, I see some zeros, I see some ones. You're right, the vast majority of people, 0. Me, I'm still in 3 role-playing groups. I had a role-playing session this morning. That class is over. Why am I doing it? To increase my skills and to get ahead of the curve. I'm doing it for the same reason all the sports greats practice harder than when they're playing a game. So do y'all notice a trend on what's going on here? Because this is what I did to get better as a buyer's agent. I had 6 role-playing partners knowing that they were going to drop off. In the end, I had 1 role-play partner. We were practicing 2 to 3 times a week, and we were going for a total of an hour when we were doing role plays, half hour each. We were practicing sign calls, probably some of the hardest things out there. Now, what did we do? We went through everything I'm about to go through with you in terms of the LPMAMA, and also some of the DISC stuff that we're going to be talking about on how to talk to different personalities. So here we are, 3 slides in, 20 minutes past the hour, and I've just given you a ton to unpack. The first thing is, know your market. You know, those few numbers that I rattled off, they change every week. I get them from Altos.com. It's free. There is no reason not to do this and know this. It makes you an instant expert. Second thing, hey, appear like that expert. You know, if you know those skills, know those stats, great. If you don't have your skills, get skilled. You guys are getting loved on. Wow. All right. So, do you guys want more? All right. Yeah.
Can I get that website again?
Sure. In the chat box. Make sure it works. Or just type in Altos and see what it pulls up. But you could plug in by zip code, by city, by state. It will give you general trends. And every Monday they post new numbers. So the big thing is just don't rely on those numbers, but know what they mean. Is your average sales price way off? Great. What's driving it? All of a sudden we got flooded with a whole whopping 4, count them, 4 new listings this week that were a typical average home. That's what killed the luxury numbers we had previous week. So you need to know that. So, you know that exercise that I started you off with where you stood up and tensed your muscles and pretended you were all Superman or Superwoman? Anyone want to take a guess what that does? Come on, unmute your mic, shout it out. How did you feel after you did it?
Relaxed.
Okay. Focused?
Relaxed.
Okay. Just relaxed.
Awake.
Awake? Good. So the second exercise, you know what that does for you? It helps clear your mind. It helps you focus. By specifically trying to expand your peripheral vision, it's forcing your mind to concentrate. This does two things. First of all the news and emails you're reading just before hopping on, those got flushed out of your mind. The second is it helps you retain more of what you're learning here. Both of those are neuro-linguistic programming tricks that I've learned in coaching. So, moving on, and I'm actually going to dump this slide into the chat box. All right, there you go. You actually have this slide. This is what I actually use. I had one. Here it is. Here's my actual form, printed out, scribbled on. That went into my CRM. So the whole point for this is before the buyer consult, I call and have a conversation. I ask a lot of questions. If the buyer's not up for this, I won't even turn on the search 9 times out of 10. This is step one. This is non-negotiable. Questions are how you control the conversation. That's super important. If you're not the one asking questions, you're not controlling it. So if the client asks me a question, I'll answer it and then end the answer with a question because I want to direct them where we go next. Does this make sense to everyone? All right, I'm seeing some nodding. So you have the LPMAMA, click on it, download it, save it to your hard disk. I've had people use this where they actually email it out to clients, where they have it as an email form. I don't do that. They've had great responses with it. Great. I personally like the conversation piece. So LPMAMA gets its name from the categories that are on the form. The L is location, P is price, M is motivation. The first day, are you working with another agent? That always tripped me up during my sign calls. I ask that. You're going to see what this looks like when we get in there, because my script, get out your pen and write this down. When I'm asking about, are you working with another agent? It's because I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Now, that tells me their motivation, their loyalty, where they are in the process. And also what it means is I'm protecting my income because I don't want to spend hours working with a client only to find I'm not getting paid. How are they financing their purchase? Are they getting a mortgage or are they paying cash? The next piece is just the basic home criteria. And then you close for the last day, which is the appointment. So as I said, I scribble in the margins when I'm doing this. This is a conversation. I'll actually stop them and go, hold on, let me check and see if I've missed anything as I'm going through this, if I think I may have missed something. I've never had a client go, what are you doing? Am I going into a form? They don't care. They feel like you're being thorough, that you're important. And the most important thing, and this is going to be mostly the rest of the class, is you need to role play this. This is something you don't want to do first time out of the gate with a client because it will feel awkward. Because remember what I said about role play? It is awkward until it isn't. And that's the whole point. That's why actors practice for months before they go on stage in front of a paying audience. So more about role play in a second. All right, show of hands. Anyone know what the disc is? All right, I'm seeing a lot of hands. That's good, but not all. All right, anyone want to guess what you use the disc for? Unmute your mic and just shout it out.
Learning how to communicate, to know how to communicate with your client.
Very good. Very cool, Alex. Thank you. So the colors on the screen, and I'm pointing up here because my display is up here and you're all in a little grid right next to the camera. The colors aren't arbitrary on this. They're done for a reason. That red and the yellow, those are warmer personalities. The blue and the green are cooler personalities. As you go to that left side of the screen, the D's and the C's, those are more task-oriented. Give them a checklist. Talk very abbreviated bullet points. You know, the DC, those are your executives. Give them an executive summary when you're talking to them. If you're a high I, if you like to talk a lot, it's going to be difficult. Believe me, I know, I'm a high I. I've talked with a lot of DCs, a lot of stockbrokers when I was selling real estate in New Jersey. You got to be brief, to the point, almost painful. Most salespeople, or many salespeople, are some combination of ID or DI. You know exactly how a salesperson wants to be sold to because it's quick, to the point, be personable, get into rapport. And it's a little bit about, oh, I trust this person. Most of the US population is an IS. Those are your supporters. They're your helpers. They're your corporate workers. There's a chameleon in this group, and that's an ISC or some combination of those three letters. When pushed, they become a D. If you have no idea who you're talking to, you probably have a chameleon. They're not very common. I've run across 2 in my entire 10-year real estate career. Now, I might have had more earlier on and not known it because I didn't know the disc then, but you get the idea. This isn't someone you run across frequently. DCs and DIs, I run across them all the time. The largest group I run across are the numbers people. Those are your accountants, your engineers, those are your SCs. SC stands for scaredy cat. You might have run into this person. Analysis paralysis. They can't make a decision. What you do with these people is you bury them with data. You give them last solds, you give them comps, you give them market conditions. I don't give the SCs last solds or comps. I'll show them what sold in the neighborhood, but I won't give them a comp because in most cases there aren't any. And it's like, hey, this is the market condition. If you want the house, this is what we're going to need to do. I'm telling you this up front because when we get there, you're going to feel really uncomfortable. And you know what? They tell me, yeah, I feel really uncomfortable. Thank you for giving that pep talk up front. Now, what do you do when spouses are opposite? How do you talk to an I versus a D? Anyone want to take a guess?
I'd say you kind of got to frame it. Who makes the decision? Who wears the pants in this family? I mean, to an extent, you want to test to see who's answering for each other and so forth.
Yep. I'll show you exactly how you do that. Next slide, we'll get into exactly that. So I'm going to tell you guys my White House story. And no, it's not that White House. I had a married couple. This was back in New Jersey in a suburban town. And he told me exactly what he wanted in a home. Now, what I want you to do is I'm telling you the story is try to figure out their personalities and why I was doing what I was doing. So he told me up front when we sat down doing the buyer consult exactly the house he wanted. And I saw it come up. I emailed it to him besides the auto listing. I'm like, we got to see this house today. This is exactly what you want. And sure enough, lunchtime, I have an appointment to go show this house. Now, we're walking up this flagstone walkway to the front door. It was bordered by tulips and boxwoods. So springtime, you got a whiff of lilac in the air. I'm standing in front of this black door, opening the lockbox. And as I'm putting the key into the door and turning it, I turned and looked at him and went, and this is the home you told me you wanted to buy. Unlocked the door and opened it. I let the husband go wander off around the home. beautiful white center hall, colonial, updated, all that wonderful stuff. I turned to the wife because I did a little bit of homework. And this is what I said. It's like, okay, let me tell you about the neighborhood. You're going to absolutely love it. Coming up on Memorial Day weekend, oh my God, the cops are going to come shut down the block and they're going to have a block party. They've got a bouncy castle coming. They've got a couple of food trucks. Bob's pulling his smoker out from the backyard and going to roast a whole pork shoulder. You are going to absolutely love it here. The people are so friendly. Now, did I know all those details? No, but there was something in the broker remarks on the MLS about a block party. So what did I do? I picked up my 800-pound phone and I called the listing agent. And if you don't get the listing agent, text them. Tell me more about this block party. That's where I got that level of info. Now, at the end of it, the husband came up and found us and he went, okay, this is the one. Let's write it up. His wife went, don't I get a say? And he looked at her and goes, this is everything you told me you wanted in a house. What else do you possibly want? And she was like, you're right. So we went back to the office and wrote it up that right then and there. All right, so let's back out for a second. I've given you all a huge number of hints on these two types of personalities. Let's cut it through. What was the husband?
A D.
He was a very high D. He was a high D with a trailing C. He was a stockbroker out in New York City. Because he ran right over her emotions, didn't even notice he was doing it. What was she?
I'm thinking an S.
She did have a little bit of S, but there was something that was much more dominant in that.
Then it would have been C.
Not a C.
No.
No,
Then it's
very high.
only one left.
She had an off the chart eye. I mean, it was comical. And watching these two interact, their style of communication could not be more different. Now, what did I do with the two clients?
It almost seems like you put them against each other. I mean, in a way.
Not quite. I played to their strengths. The DC
Yes.
did a checklist. Notice what I said. This checks off all your boxes. I didn't need to convince him. He was already convinced. The wife, it was her eye. It was wanting fun. It was emotional. I wanted her to feel like she was moving into a neighborhood full of neighbors she already likes. That's the stage I was setting for her. Totally different talking points. I didn't mention a single thing about the house. Didn't mention that the kitchen was just updated 3 years ago or the age of the roof or any of that because she didn't care. So that's a super, super important point. Know who you're talking to and what matters to them, and talk to them in the style that they want to be communicated with. If I started gushing about, oh my God, you're going to love this place because, the previous owners just completely updated it, her eyes would have glazed over. I would have lost her. So getting back to the LPMAMA here, there's lots of key questions that I ask to gather information and to try to make this a very smooth transaction. I ask, and this isn't necessarily on the form, but it's under do you currently own? Have they ever owned a home before? Well, yes. Okay, do you need to sell it before buying? No. What are you going to do with it? Rent it, or are you going to sell it later? Well, why am I asking those questions? Because I'm looking at a potential listing lead. Okay, they don't own a home right now. Oh, okay. Are you renting? Yes. Great. When is your lease up? Why? Well, because I don't want you to be homeless. That also gives you a really hard date on when you have to be in a home. So here, and this is my script, let me build a custom home buying timeline so we know when we need to act so you're not going to end up homeless or worse with a double move, which nobody enjoys. How does that sound? Great. Okay, So, all right, your lease is up in July 1. You have to be out of your current home June 30th. All right, typically buying process with a loan, which you're getting correct, yes, is 30 days. Okay, so that means now May 1, we absolutely drop dead have to find you a home. All right, here we are mid-March. That gives us 6 weeks to help you find a home before you're homeless. That may sound like a lot, but have you been looking online before we started this? Yeah. Have you seen anything you liked? Not really. Okay, have you been noticing how we've had a little bit more coming on in the beginning of the spring market? Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. If you see something that is remotely close to what you want, we need to go see it. Now, generally speaking, when I'm doing this, they're thinking we're going out every day. What I'm setting up and what you'll see in the next part is we typically go out once, unless they're in really high SC. And then I'll actually say, listen, hey, we're going to go out and I'm going to show you the process of how we're going to be looking and buying a home. We're not doing that today. And you can visually see them go, oh, okay. Because these are the types of people that want to understand what they're getting into. So I continue through, hey, and I've already said this today. Are you working with another agent? When do you want to move in? How soon? When you close, are you planning on doing any updates to the house, like flooring or paint? Because it's much easier to do that for a couple of days before all your stuff shows up. See, are you looking in another area? That's a key one. Oh yeah, I'm looking in Boulder, in Colorado Springs. Okay, that's a really diverse area. That's an hour and a half away from each other. Why those two areas? What are you specifically looking for? And if they tell me, and I know it's not Boulder, I'll tell them up front, hey, listen, you're not likely going to find that up here in Boulder. Do you have an agent in the Springs you're working with already? No. All right, great. Let me refer you someone. Now, I just saved myself a ton of time, an aggravated client, and they're thinking I'm an expert. And it's like, they're more likely to use this person. So this area that I've got circled in red with the arrows, I hijack that 99 times out of 100. I will change that into what are the 3 features that are must-haves. Now, when Paul was asking who's dominant here, I did this exercise with the client. I said, what I want you to do is each of you write down a list of your 3 non-negotiable must-haves in the house. Do it after dinner, have a glass of wine, have some fun with it. Then what I want you to do is combine the lists and tell me who has the most number of things on it. You can have more things, but those are going to be nice to have. So those will be icing on top. Does this make sense? Oh, yeah. So in my White House example, the wife had all 3 things. The husband thought he was in control, but he actually had 1 thing that was the same as the wife's and 2 others that didn't make it onto the list. She had all 3 items on her list. She was the dominant decision maker, even though he was the dominant personality. And she didn't say much when he was talking because he would just run right over her. And she knew this. So she was like, yeah, whatever. But you see how important that is? So a lot of times when I go through, I will ask some digging questions. Like, why are these things important? You want a 3rd bedroom. Hey, great. Is that 3rd bedroom a home office, a guest room, or are you planning a family? Really probing question. Depending on how they answer that, that may kick off. Well, if you need a bedroom, okay, great. How big are you planning on growing the family? Are you planning on moving? Are we going to keep the search going? Another piece is, oh, you're just doing an office? Will a loft do instead of an office? Or a non-bedroom room, which would be considered an office? So my script partner says, tell me more about that. That's actually a Gene Frederickism. That's how he talks to people. Tell me more about that. Why is that important for you? What will that do for you? Those are all scripts. Those are all probing questions that you should be asking when someone goes, hey, I want a 3-car garage. Great. Out of curiosity, why is that important to you? Well, I'm a car collector. I've got 2 cars. I know it's going to hail a lot, so I want to be able to pull my wife's car in as well. And I need to have space for the bikes, the kayaks, and all the camping gear. Okay, great. So if there's an outbuilding, will that work as well instead of just a 3-car garage? Now, what have I just done here? How have I made the client feel? Anyone want to guess?
Heard, understood.
Yes,
Yeah, you have their best interest at heart.
absolutely. And before we go into the next piece, Alex, I see you've got your hand raised. What question do you have?
So 2 questions. Actually, one is a question, one is a comment. The first question goes to when you ask about the other agent.
Mhm.
At what point do you then get an EBBA signed, buyer broker agreement?
The buyer agency or buyer broker agreement technically should go out as soon as I finish this conversation.
Okay.
So a lot of times what I do is, because I'm just probing to see, are they a client? And the state of Colorado actually says, before I ask, what are you looking for? What's your price point? That I need to have a buyer agency agreement signed.
Mhm.
The reality is I'm doing it better than 99% of most people who get it signed when they get their contract signed. So once I've had the communication, once I'm in rapport, the next step after doing this is setting the appointment for the buyer consult. I send it out with the paperwork for the buyer consult. As a summary of this, hey, great conversation. Want to make sure you're getting the automated emails from KV Core or your MLS or however you're sending listings. Here is all the paperwork. I want you to review it up front, because when it's time to make an offer, it's going to get really kind of intense, and you're not going to have a lot of time to read through 19 pages of legalese. Let's set up an appointment. I want to go through this to make you feel as comfortable as possible. Make sure that last piece is in there, because some people will never feel comfortable.
Mhm.
And hey, by the way, here's all the forms. And when I take out that buyer agency form during the buyer consult, my script is, and this is how you hire me. I didn't make it up. I borrowed that from one of my role play partners. I still use it to this day, something like 7 years later. Answer your question?
Perfectly. One comment about that form too.
Yep.
I've used the form admittedly not consistently. But the one thing that really I notice sparks a buyer is when I ask, what are 3 things you're looking for? Either it dumbfounds them and they are like beyond flattered, or the majority come up with like right away, communication, responsiveness, like they know what they want, so they're happy to know that I'm asking.
Yep. Yeah, if I know someone has had an agent that they're unhappy with, I will ask, what are the 3 things you're looking for in an agent? Otherwise, it's, what are the 3 most important things you're looking for in a home? And 99 times out of 100, I hear light, bright, and airy, and open floor plan are the first 2. I can almost guarantee you that's usually what's going down. Then it becomes more specific on, oh, I have a dog, so I want somewhere to be able to let the dog out, or I need a garage, or I want a workout space, or whatever it is that they need in their home. So
I like the idea of asking both of the questions, honestly. What do they look for in an agent, and what are the 3 most important things?
I have to agree. I have to agree. I would preface it by asking what's the most important thing about the home, and then say, and then even more importantly, what are you looking for in a realtor to represent you in getting that home? So,
Mhm.
all right, cool. Loving it. Absolutely loving it. All right. So my next question is, who wants to role play this? Who wants to see how this works? And I'm going to be the agent. So all right, Alex. I'm going to take some notes so you'll see exactly what I'm doing.
Okay.
All right. Hi, is this Alex?
Yes, hi.
Hi, Alex. This is Jason Kay with eXp Realty. I got your name from Trish. She said that you're looking to buy a home in the Boulder area. Is that right?
Hey, Jason. Yes, I am. Thank you for calling.
All right, great. Hey, I'm sorry. I just want to check. Do you have like 5 minutes or so to chat, or do you want me to call back at another time?
Can you call back at another time?
Sure. Sure. What time is good for you? We'll set it up right now.
We can do it right now.
Cool. All right. So, Alex, can you tell me a little bit about yourself so I can understand what you're looking for?
Sure. So I'm moving from New Jersey.
Okay.
I'm a PR executive and I am relocating for work. I like the outdoors. I'm going to miss the beaches, but I enjoy the mountains and such.
Okay.
I have a family of 4, a dog and a cat,
Wow.
and we are not coming with any furniture.
Okay. So you're selling all your furniture, or are you keeping your existing home and going to rent it out?
We're selling the furniture with the home, hopefully.
Okay. Do you have an agent in New Jersey who's helping you with the sale of your home?
I do not.
Okay. Would you like a referral? I know
Yes,
some
please.
great agents.
Okay, yeah. Please. How do you
All right.
know them?
I used to live in New Jersey, used to sell in New Jersey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be great then.
All right, cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 people to choose from. And this way, whoever, I want you to call both of them and see which one feels best to you. How does that sound?
Perfect. Thank you, Jason.
All right, great. So tell me a little bit about the type of home you want to buy here in Colorado.
I like what I think is a traditional Colorado home, kind of not modern. I don't like boxes. I like architectural, older architectural styles, for example.
Okay.
So something that stands the test of time or is considered a classic, I guess,
Mhm.
type of home.
Okay. Roughly how big are you thinking?
Let's say 3,000 square feet.
Okay. Do you have a number of bedrooms or baths you're looking for?
Minimum of 4 bedrooms and let's say at least 3.5 baths.
Okay. Do you have a price point that you're thinking of?
Well, based on what you told me, probably like 3 million.
Okay, excellent. We can definitely find you something in the 3 million range. We could probably even find you something between 2 to 2.5 as well, depending on how much space you want and where in town you're located and how updated the home is. Does that sound good to you?
That sounds good. Is it possible to get some land with that?
It is. How much land are you looking for?
Just enough that, if you're from Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Most of Jersey is close, everyone's close to one another. Just
Yeah.
enough that I don't feel like I'm looking in someone's house and they're not looking in mine.
Okay. Yeah, we could definitely do that. So land for privacy, and I'm assuming you want some space where you can let the dog out too in the back?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So do you need to sell your current home before you can buy the new one?
I do not.
Okay, great. If you don't mind me asking a couple of finance questions, this may help set you up in terms of selling your home first or not. Do you have a lot of equity on your home, or do you own it outright?
Own it outright.
Fantastic. Do you have a home equity line of credit by some chance already on the home?
I do, but it's very minimal.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking is because a lot of my clients, before you go under contract, will get a home equity line of credit and be able to use that to make their down payment. This way, it helps with the whole transaction piece. You don't get hit with taxes on trying to liquidate stocks or other things. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, that would be great.
Cool. All right, cool. So tell me, what are the 3 most important things you want in your home? You've already given me an idea of the size and the price, but like what sort of location are you looking for? Or tell me a little bit about the features in the home you're looking for.
Definitely want a lot of windows and light into the house.
Okay,
That's important. I would say just outside of Boulder
okay.
and
Are you looking up in the foothills or the plains?
the foothills,
Unincorporated?
yes, the foothills. Thank you.
Okay,
And thirdly, let's say open floor plan.
okay. Excellent. I definitely think we can help you with that. I've actually just shown a couple of homes that would probably fit your bill. So let's do this. Oh, I forgot to ask, when you're purchasing your new home, are you going to be getting a loan or are you going to be financing it as cash?
Cash, please.
Okay, excellent. That makes life easy. So what I would like to do at this point is I'm going to start an automated search for you based on this criteria. The computer will kick stuff out as it comes available, because what I want to make certain, oh, actually, let me back up. When do you want to actually be moved into your new home?
Before, let's say before school starts. So August.
Okay. Yeah, and just so you know, schools here start August 15th, unlike in New Jersey, where they typically start that first week in September. So
So
kids
yeah,
might
the end
know.
of July then.
Okay. Okay, so July 31st. So based on July 31st, do you have any plans to come out and look at homes, or are you going to be purchasing this through a Zoom walkthrough and coming out only for inspections?
We'll be flying out. The exact dates I don't know yet, and then possibly it's possible to do a virtual showing if you see
Okay.
something that is ideal, and then we can fly out to see
All right.
maybe a few at
All
that
right,
time.
cool. So do you have a rough idea when you might fly out, like roughly a time frame? I'm not going to hold you to it. I
Yeah,
just
sure.
want to.
Mid-April for
Okay.
sure, and then we can fly out at another time after that.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the MLS to send you listings right away. As we get close to that mid-April, in like a month or so, probably about 2 weeks before, I'm going to check back in with you to see when your plans are. When you come out, what I'd like to do is show you several different properties at one time so we can narrow down what we're looking for, give you an idea of the areas you're looking in. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. The next steps after this is I'm going to be sending you an email summarizing everything we just said. Make sure that I've got the search set up right. I want to make sure you're actually getting the search results from our KV core system. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to send you all of the documents up front because I want you to go over them, take a read, and we'll actually go through them in depth on our next appointment. So the next appointment typically takes about hour and a half. Will it be possible to get your wife there as well for the Zoom call where I can go over all this information and explain the process on how we're going to be able to do this as efficiently as possible? This way
Sure,
we
we
don't
can even
waste
get
your
the cat and dog if you want to.
time. Looking forward to meeting the cat and dog. What are their names?
Fido and now
Okay. And what's your wife's name out of curiosity?
Kia.
Yeah, lovely. All right. So Alex, I'm looking forward to talking with you and Kia. What time, either end of this week or beginning of next week, are you both free where we can chat?
How about Friday afternoon?
Okay. Friday at 4 p.m. Mountain Time is 6 p.m. Eastern. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that works great.
Excellent. So I will send a Zoom link. What is Kia's email address?
Blah, blah, blah.
Perfect. Hey, Alex, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you and Kia Friday.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jason.
All right. So what key things did you guys get out of that? What did you notice? Go for it.
You kind of blew off my virtual tour comment or question.
I was running out of time, so yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was
And that's
pushing it.
because I get a lot of that. I do get a lot of that here in Florida, Miami. Because
I do too.
a lot of buyers from various areas.
I do too, and I do virtual tours.
Okay.
I have sold homes sight unseen. My current client who I'm negotiating with right now on a contract, they bought the home they're currently in without ever seeing it.
Mhm.
He went for the inspection. She did not. The first time she saw the home was on the walkthrough hour before closing.
Mhm.
So it is common in some areas. When I was in New Jersey, I don't think I did one. If I did, it was just one.
Yeah.
In Colorado, I'm probably 20% or more that are virtual.
Got it.
So that's very much area independent. What else? What did you guys notice?
Two things. One, I liked how at the very end you confirmed the time zones. When you have people coming in from out of state and they're on a different time zone, so how you clarified and specifically pointed out their time zone versus your time zone. So I thought that was a good thing. One thing at the beginning that I noticed, because he said he was coming, he was relocating with his work. I think the question I would have added in there is if he had a relocation package, to know that,
I
because
definitely should have asked that and I didn't, and I agree with you.
yeah, but I thought it flowed well and went well.
So did anyone feel like I was going through a checklist or that Alex was just a number?
Now you're being steady Eddie. You didn't fluctuate your emotions or anything. You stayed very on point. You didn't get overly enthusiastic, which can be construed as shady sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just a natural conversation.
Yeah. Now, Alex said he was a PR executive. Now, my first thought is he's going to be a really high I. And that is exactly what he did not exhibit at all. So I'm like, okay, he may be a DC. Checklists. Anyone ever noticed that I brought up checklist, process, next steps, streamline, not waste time? That's why I did that, because that's where he was going. Typically with PR execs, some of them can be really high energy. Alex wasn't. Did you notice that I sort of came down to his level? I became a little bit more steady, a little bit slower with my talking, a little bit more deliberate. I was trying to mirror and match him. Mirroring is doing exactly what he does. Matching is getting close to what he does. The reason for that is because A, I wanted him to be able to hear me, but B, I also wanted to get into rapport. So the whole goal with that was, does he feel like I'm, trustworthy, that I'm like him? So, we went a little bit longer than I thought. So let me get to my very last slide. What questions do you guys have with our last minute?
I guess I'm just going to throw something out there. I've worked in being an account executive for many years before getting into real estate. And we were big on the disc profile to the point where I used to actually ask new clients or people that I'm just getting to know if they knew what a disc profile was. Believe it or not, full 100% transparency. I says, I don't want to freak you out. I says, but I do, I have communication styles and I want to make sure that we're on the same communication style.
Okay, that's great. That is absolutely amazing. I love it.
Hey, Jake.
Yeah.
Jake. If I could chime in, about a year ago or so, I sat in while you were doing a call on an LPMAMA.
Yep.
And at the time, I have to admit, you sounded campy.
Yep.
Obviously, you've done enough of this role playing that you don't anymore.
Well, the campy on that specific call was geared towards that client and where I thought their disc profile was.
Okay. All right.
Off the chart I with the trailing S. So yeah, I was definitely going, oh my God, this is amazing. And it felt campy to me because that's who that client was.
Okay. I never thought to ask you about that, but yeah, you were unusually campy.
Mm-hmm. Whereas I wasn't this time on this call because I was closer to where you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Comments, suggestions?
I like this format because you do allow challenge. So
And it's flexible. Some people, especially if you've got a DC, it's like, and they're caffeinated and they're like, yeah, I got a second. It's like, okay, let me ask some important questions. You know, I might not get to another agent if they say they are looking in the Whittier section of downtown Boulder. It's like, okay, are you working with anyone? No, next. It's a very flexible form. Sometimes I don't get to everything. Sometimes I'll say, hey, I know you're running out of time, want to respect your time. Let's set up another call to continue this. Is that okay with you? You know,
So next week, Jason's going to do a part 2 and continue this on. So come back next week. Actually, Trish just asked if anybody's willing to role play. So if anybody wants to do some role playing, put your name in the chat and she's going to create a group for that. So that's fantastic, Trish. But one thing that I would love next week, I don't know if you already have this, Jason, but going back to the disc profile, if you have a couple, 2 or 3 questions that you specifically ask to try to determine what their personality style is. I know as you're going through that list, you kind of mentioned, you kind of are listening to how they're responding and all, but is there anything, you know, that you specifically ask for that? Like maybe, I don't even know, like one of the things on that checklist could even be, you know, what does your family like to do for fun? You know, like, and depending how they respond to that, you know, like if they start spouting a lot of stuff out, you know, they're probably a high I. If they're like, oh, we don't do a lot for fun, you know, they're probably not a high I anyway, for sure. But if you have a couple of questions, and I know we're kind of out of time now, but maybe I would love to hear if you ask any additional things to determine personality styles.
Kathy, that's brilliant. That is really brilliant. What leading questions can we have that can almost immediately identify where they fall in? You know, what's your favorite, you know, activity or, you know, something like that can kind of give you an idea, whether it's sports or, you know, golfing and you know, oh, I like to play Scrabble, you know, I mean, then you kind of know, oh, okay.
Yeah. So the first thing I usually ask is, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
Then I ask, what does your spouse do? So, oh, I'm an engineer. I'm in technical sales. It's like, okay, well, technical sales, you're probably not an engineer, but you deal with a lot of them. So that gives me an insight in terms of how to communicate. If they're an executive, okay, probably DC, checklists, be brief, don't be chatty. And it's also how they respond to the questions. If it's like, well, what do you do for work? PR exec. All right, chances are you're a DC. Well, I'm a mechanical engineer with 13 years in Bell Labs doing telecom, mostly on inside, blah, blah, blah. It's like, whoa, okay. You definitely have some high I there going, but that engineer is probably an SC. So let me ask some more probing questions and see how you answer them. So the question itself, you know, the biggest one is, what do you do for a living? Because most people will naturally become what their job is or go to the job that they naturally are. The
Probably
next
a follow-up question is, do you enjoy your job?
Yeah.
Some people can be in their job and hate it. And they're like, okay, maybe they're, you know, maybe it is a personality conflict, you know, them not enjoying it. But
or it's, what are you guys, what do you like about your job?
Yeah.
A lot of times when I have clients who are moving to Colorado, I go, hey, that's fantastic. What do you like about Colorado? Why are you moving here? I mean, I have my own preconceived notions of why I moved here and why I moved back, but I want to hear it from them. Some of them surprise me and go, I want to play golf. I want to ski. I want to hike. It's okay. You know, tell me, what do you like about those activities?
Yeah.
And
So you can,
that's,
yeah, just asking those questions. And I know we're already 5 minutes over time, so we can maybe start out with this next week if people want, since you're gonna do part 2, if people want to come next week and have any questions that are mulling through your minds after the first one today, we'll just maybe open it up next week, Jason, with those, and then roll into your part 2. So
I'll add that into the front end. Absolutely.
yeah, so that's perfect. So guys, thanks for coming. Like I said, next week, same time, same link. Jason's going to do part 2, and we'll continue this and kind of wrap up, with getting the buyers moved under contract sooner than later. And be sure to check out our Freedom Team workplace calendar. We've got a lot of things that we do during the month. And so be sure to go to workplace. If you're not already in the workplace Freedom Team group and you're part of Freedom Team, just raise your hand to be a part of that. And we will let you in so that you'll know all the things that's going on. So thanks so much, everybody. And thank you, Jason. I'm looking forward to part 2 next week. And thanks so much for all your wisdom and knowledge. Y'all have an
Absolutely.
awesome day. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.